Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight folks in Howard culture that are trendsetters and making moves. Today, we have a very special guest. And then we actually have two very special guests, but I'll start with Kelly Fair, the founder, executive director of Polished Pebbles. She's a speech pathologist. She's an author, award-winning entrepreneur, mentor, girl advocate, life skills, career readiness, leadership development, 3,000 plus girls, 100 plus sites. It's a lot of headaches. Howard University of Iowa, Ebony Magazine, MSNBC, Wall Street Journal, Chicago Women, Sun-Times, the list goes on. But then we have a woman that needs no introduction. I wasn't in the school of C, I was in the school of B. But you'd always hear, go talk to Miss Dudley. Go talk to Miss Dudley. These are quotes. She was like my mom, Nubia Henderson. She's irreplaceable, Annalisa Gale. She got me a job when I was broke, Omarosa. Recognized by the Society of Professional Journalists, almost 50 years of service at Howard University. Currently the program manager for employee relations, former director of the School of C, class of 76. Hashtag bring back Miss Dudley. You know, that was a trending topic on Twitter. That was number 2 trending topic on Twitter for Washington, D.C. So Kelly and Miss Dudley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, no problem at all. So Kelly, we'll start right off. Polished Pebbles, Chris Brown, Rihanna. Explain the connection.
You did some research, Josh. So, I had finished Howard, finished graduate school, and started my career working in youth development through different entities. And I was working with a program that we were working on mentoring and character development in a middle school. And that was the time that the whole Chris Brown and Rihanna domestic violence situation had gone down. And so we figured it would be the prime opportunity to have this topic as, prime for discussion with the middle school girls that we were working with at that time. And I had not started Polished Pebbles, and we were just asking them what they thought. And we were just blown away and amazed with how many of the girls, it had to be 80% or more of the girls, who all felt repeatedly that Rihanna was primarily at fault. Now, they didn't know much more. They saw the face, saw how bruised she was, but they would say things like, well, I heard she gave him an STD. So
I heard that too. And I ain't gonna lie, I was like, well, she give him an STD.
Okay. They said, I heard she threw his keys from the car, and so to hear 11 and 12-year-olds say, well, a woman could deserve being beat that bad if she did this or if she did that. It just really kind of put on my heart at that time. And I'd been thinking about starting a girls initiative, formally just on my own. I figured at that time I could not wait any further. They needed the kind of support that knows that, that is never okay. And so I had been thinking about starting Polished Pebbles. I was nervous about doing it. You think, is this worth it? Will people like it? Will there be a response? And so I decided to put on an emergency first session on the south side of Chicago at one of the local libraries, brought in domestic violence experts, asked women in my network to bring girls, and Polished Pebbles was born that day.
Wow, that's awesome. And how long has Polished Pebbles been around?
11
officially?
years.
11 years.
Yeah.
So we're gonna rewind to maybe 11 years prior to that. Tell me why you felt it was necessary for you to have Miss Dudley on this platform.
Sure. So for me, you talk about Polished Pebbles when I, talk to audiences about what I do and how I am, inspired and I'm passionate about helping girls create future successful lives and future successful careers and helping them sculpt their future professional voices. I'm doing that because that's what Carol Dudley did for me.
Mm.
She did it for me as a student at Howard. She did it for me just as a great role model for a woman and for a professional and for an empathetic service professional. And she showed me every day what that looked like. So for me to come on here and talk about my career in mentoring, my career in helping students think about their future careers, it does not make sense not to have and bring another fellow alum from Howard on, and that's Miss Dudley. She was my mother on campus. She was my boss in career development. And my passion for sculpting though and thinking about future careers for our students is because that's what Miss Dudley was, not only in her 9 to 5, but it was all 24/7. She is as popular and as beloved as she is by Howard alums because she completely was committed to her role in helping us craft successful futures. So there was no way that I would come on here without Miss Dudley.
Wow, Miss Dudley, what does it mean to have someone as accomplished as Kelly, you know, look at you in such high regard?
Joshua, it's the greatest compliment to what I do and my purpose in life is to have them recognize me, thank me, do what I hope they do, and that's being successful. And so it means everything to me. It means everything.
Did you see, was this the vision that you had for your career back in 76 when you graduated from Howard University?
It really wasn't the vision, but I knew because I was in speech pathology also when I graduated from undergrad. I realized I wanted to be like my mentor, Dr. Orlando Taylor, who I watched him with doctoral students and master's students. And he was tough, but he was fair. And I saw the success of those, producing African-American PhDs in speech language pathology. And I just wanted to be like him. And at that time, I was assisting him. I was a program assistant on his training grants where we helped master's and doctoral level students get externships. So same thing as internships, but at a higher level. And he noticed that most of them came from another school. And so he noticed my work with them because I helped them with more than just the program itself. I was helping them find apartments, telling them where to live, what would be safe, and just things like that. And then one day he asked me if I wanted a bigger audience. He said I needed a bigger audience. And he asked me if I wanted, he said, the School of Communications is growing. Do you want to run career development for the school? And I just was like, yes. And of course I had to learn media real fast because I was on the science side, but I did. So.
Wow. I talked to a few people from the School of C, and everyone always talks about how much they love Miss Dudley. Everyone. And I even had someone tell me that at one point they were depressed and didn't know it. They told me that, I was sleeping in my dorm room late. I was missing class, not really caring. And they said that I walked into Miss Dudley's office and she told me, you're depressed. You're depressed. Now, for a lot of people, and they take jobs to get a paycheck, or maybe, you're looking, okay, I'm career services, I'm gonna help you get a job. What is it that you see in students that it makes you want to go a step further and become that big sister or that mother figure?
When I entered Howard in the early 70s, I was super, super shy. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't say anything to anybody because I was just, I don't know what that thing was that made me shy, but I was shy when I got to Howard. And then a professor was talking to me about he was a professor advisor, and he was talking to me about what major I was going to decide on. And he was so helpful. I chose speech pathology. He thought that was best for me. And because he could tell from my background that I wanted to help people. And then I just kept saying, I don't want to see younger people than me go through what I go through, that shy thing, it holds you back. And I kept saying, you gotta help people who have things that hold them back. So my thing is, with every Howard student that comes to see me, is I do an initial assessment. I can assess the critical thinker, the winner, the future leader, but I also assess trouble, somebody I've got to do some behavior modification to. And it's very important that students get truth about what it's going to take to be that thing they want to be. And they need to get truth about what's going to hurt them. Mm. So it's really important for me. And it's something that's just inside me, that assessment, but I have to assess every single student. If a kid walks up to my door, and I say kid because I'm so much older than them, they walk up to my door and they're just staring at me, which a lot of them do. I'm like, I have to get a breakthrough here. You can't enter offices and stand there and stare at people because everybody's not going to welcome you in. So I just have to take every aspect of a student and make sure they can navigate their way through college, make sure they got the potential to navigate their way through life and through a career.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. What are some things that you took from Ms. Dudley and that you still take from Ms. Dudley that you implement with Polished Pebbles?
Sure. So, Polished Pebbles, our primary mission and focus is to help girls become great communicators at home, at school, and at the future workplace. And so for me, with that focus on communication, obviously I'm a School of C grad. So, thinking about communication in every sense of the word and how it impacts us through media, but definitely through our voice and how we communicate with others, and particularly in preparing for the future workplace. I mean, it was those small lessons that you got from Miss Dudley that you were getting a lesson and you didn't even know you were getting a lesson, which is stand up straight. Did you pick up that phone again? You talk like that? Ugh, do it over.
Wow.
And then I think not only just the communication skills, but the commitment to excellence. So for me, with thinking about a conversation today about alum and what we do, this is a conversation about legacy. This is a conversation about how we can't have conversations about moving forward into the future without us being very clear about who we are now and who we've been and whose shoulders that we stand upon. Vice President-elect Harris just mentioned that. I stand on their shoulders. I stand on Ms. Dudley's shoulders. So that commitment to excellence with work where, I can't tell you how many times we would be working on major projects and we thought we were halfway through and Carol Dudley was supposed to be on vacation. She'd pop up in the office, look at it, say it was wrong and it was trash and make you do it over. But it was that commitment to excellence that we have to put our best foot forward at all times. That is just ingrained in who I am and how I move as a woman, how I move as a professional. But definitely that's a legacy that I know is critically important that we instill in our young people. We cannot afford to lose those high expectations. My great grandmother only had a sixth grade education, but that expectation that we were supposed to continue to excel and be educated and be successful, we can't lose that within our community by trying to coddle kids. And so, I call them kids, she calls them kids. And so it's just that innate love and that expectation. I'm going to love you because I want you to be your best. And you're not going to like me all the time. And that's okay. Because in the end, it's going to help you in the long run. And that's who we are. And, so I don't go anywhere without talking about people and those mentors who were in my pipeline that influenced me and that groomed me. And Miss Dudley is one of the people that I am always, always talking about. And she's one of my mentors I talk about when I talk to the Pebbles. You've got to have a support network. And one of the key people that even 20 some odd years later, that's still in my support network, that's Miss Dudley.
What was that first meeting like with Miss Dudley?
I was in a hallway coming down a hill looking for, I don't know where I was looking for, something in the hallway. And she just saw confused freshman written all over my face. And I said, oh, I'm looking for somebody and I need a job. And she said, I'm Carol Dudley, Office of Career Development. Come down to my office Monday at 3 p.m. And I just will never forget that moment. And it just started my career at Howard. And she, very much like she was a shy freshman, I was a shy freshman. And she assessed me and I think was just very, just an in-tune mentor in every step of the way. So she just saw me in the hallway like she does everybody and said, come on down. And that's why you can't find a School of C grad. Quite frankly, Josh, you can't find many School of B grads either who don't say, I love Miss Dudley. Just saying.
So I'm sure you've had a ton of opportunities to leave or do other things. What made you want to hang around and pour into the kids, that come through Howard for this long when you could have taken a ton of opportunities, even from people that you've helped?
Joshua, every cohort is 4 years. And that meant I was with those kids for 4 years and their lives were so important to me. I mean, I kid you not. They mean everything to me. And watching them evolve, like Kelly. I mean, when I met Kelly, let me just back this up a little bit. When I met Kelly, my immediate assessment was check. She's checking all the boxes, okay? And then I met her parents, and they were so unassuming, like just so stable, so normal. I meet a lot of parents and, the parents basically, you think they're in school, they're complaining about the major their son has chosen. They're trying to, where's some opportunities for him? Let me see them. They're all over the place. But Kelly's parents had this confidence. It was a quiet confidence that this girl was going to be all right. They didn't try to steer me anyway in terms of Kelly's direction. It was like, this girl comes from a decent family. She's meeting all the boxes. What I just need to do is watch her evolve and help her evolve to who she wants to be. And like I said, Kelly always came. When Kelly was in the honors program, Kelly came in there, a TV production major, if I recall, and then switched majors to speech pathology. Now, let me just say something. Was it a risk? For some folks, yes. For Kelly, no, because she always had a mature agenda. And I was always comfortable about Kelly's direction and her future, but I still felt the need, like a parent, like you've got to be there for your kids. And that's the thing about Howard. I mean, it's probably why I haven't retired yet, because I've got 44 years of full-time service. And honestly, it's like leaving the kids. It's not that other people don't do what I do, but I just need to know that they do that.
Ms. Dudley, what does it mean when you see, from when you came into Howard in the early 70s and you look up now, this 2020, to see so many women bosses, Black women bosses that have come up under the Ms. Dudley tree of knowledge? When you look in your inbox or your Rolodex and you see that you've been able to have this imprint on so many women, like Kelly, how does that make you feel?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm bursting with joy. I mean, like literally, I cry a lot, not a hard cry, but I tear because when I see what they're doing, I'm so proud. I mean, I'm proud of the males too, but I'm so proud. Howard is, we're largely dominantly women, but so you see more of the women graduates and how they've succeeded. But honestly, I like when I literally put on Facebook, like you just make me tear. I mean that. I'm crying because I'm so happy. I'm so proud of Howard's legacy. And it's just amazing. It really is.
What about when you see like the opportunities that they have that maybe you didn't have when you first started?
Well, let me just tell you something. I think about our graduates a lot with those opportunities that exist now, because I think if I had those people with all of these opportunities that we have now, oh my God, Howard, I mean, people would probably hate Howard, okay, because, you know, they already get on us about bragging, but, you know, we love our institution, we love what we stand for. But honestly, I know the work ethic of those graduates from back in the 70s, the 80s, the early 90s, they started rolling, you know, they started getting out there. But I'm telling you, the 70s, 80s, if they had the opportunities that exist right now, even for me, like I say all the time, I would have probably gone to the School of Business or been in public relations, one of the two. Mm-hmm. It's just, there's so many opportunities. So the kids that come in today are they're so much more technically equipped. Mm. Their schools are also offering them, say, internships in their senior year. Their schools are specializing in specific majors and fields. So they're coming much more prepared. So I'm a little harder on them because your potential levels up here, you know, so you can't be down here, not with all you have. And when I think about the things, I mean, believe me, some graduates, we didn't even have computers back then, you know, and it's just amazing the difference in terms of the hunger. I think kids nowadays are hungry, but it's not as obvious as it was in the 70s and 80s, how hungry they were. And even in the 90s, even when Puffy and those folks were coming through school, but they were so determined. They were kind of like Kelly. They had an agenda. They started practicing the profession while in school. They literally believed they were the music makers, the money makers. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of thing I try to do to students now, is shift their thinking. I say this to the freshmen all the time: go back to those dorms, talk the language of your discipline. Even if your roommate looks at you like you're crazy, do it. Start believing who you are. You know, I just keep pounding in. You got to believe who you are.
I felt like at Howard and definitely in the School of C, but you remember seeing the School of B kids walk up the hill, you know, in those heels, the dark blue and the black suits. It was a culture of, you are here to prepare, you know, and even in the School of C, we didn't have the same kind of, you know, attire, but it was like you were there to get an internship. And even if you weren't looking for Miss Dudley, you know, that culture was, well, you need to go find Miss Dudley. You need to go in here. And I mean, I was a freshman and I had an internship at HBO and it was paid. And but that was because it had been ingrained in me in the culture of my work study, that you are here to work and prepare. And if you're seeing all these other internships that are coming in, you know, the possibilities. And I applied for, you know, probably 50 to 100 internships. And as a freshman, you're not going to get that many. But somebody had called about HBO in Chicago, and Miss Dudley was like, listen, I got a freshman. But she can handle it. And so I think that's really, for me, when I think about Polished Pebbles, I want to bring that to the table. When I first started Polished Pebbles, and I would say, well, you know, we should talk to middle school girls and about goal setting. And they were like, what? You know, so it's like the only conversation we can have with girls is about self-esteem. But here's the thing, in the act of doing, they're going to build the confidence, build the self-esteem. But kids get it, girls get it. They want to think about a future. They want to think about future careers and what that could be. And so for me, that culture of Howard, that this is what we do, this is who we are. I was at Howard, and when I got into speech pathology, I couldn't believe they didn't have a job fair over there. So I made a mini one, and because that's what I learned from Miss Dudley, and I brought that flavor to my department. Shameless plug, but this is why I put together the book, Every Girl's a CEO. It's almost like essentially a compilation of what we've been doing with 11 years for Polished Pebbles. But this is a book that stands on the shoulders of Carol Dudley. It talks about, hey, do you have a mentor? Hey, do you have a resume? Hey, guess what? CEOs can be traditional or non-traditional. Harriet Tubman was a CEO. Masara Martin is a CEO. So what do you need and all the things that you need to do to lead? But the other thing that we have a part of it, and I think it's the essence of Howard, is that you've got this diverse cross section of kids that, and this is what we say to our girls, you're already a CEO. I mean, that's where I got to Howard. And I was like, man, these kids are movers because you're already leading in your life. You got good grades. You go to school. For our girls, they're taking care of younger siblings, cousins, sometimes their own kids. They braid hair on the side. They do lashes on the side, work at the pizza place. That is chief executive functioning. So when it comes to being in the boardroom, babe, that's not that much of a leap from where you are because you're already handling it. And that for me was evident when you look on the yard at Howard University. It was little CEOs all over the place. So that was just ingrained in who I am. And now I just make sure through Polished Pebbles, through my different arms of my different work, through my books and through my speaking, that I bring that to the table. It's like, baby girl, you're already that, and let me show you. And if we're not investing and talking to our kids like that, they can have the world at their feet, but they won't know how to access it and they won't go after it.
So Kelly, where were you when you heard the news that Miss Dudley may be leaving Howard?
Well, if you know Miss Dudley, she's not the one on the horns calling everybody saying like, this is what happened, this is what happened. But I just think I was on social media. And I think I might have texted her. I assume that Miss Dudley can be overwhelmed. Plus, if it's job fair season, you just know you're not going to get Carol Dudley at all anyway. But I just saw it on social media, but it was just the outpouring. And I got on there and I got on the president and was like, and I was repeating the hashtags and putting my own notes up and putting my pictures from the yearbook up with Miss Dudley. So, I mean, you could not see it. It was all over, with Howard alum about keeping Miss Dudley. I mean, it would be a travesty. She is Howard. For so many of us, she is our Howard experience.
How did you feel when you heard the news, even without even doing an investigation? Like, how did it land on you?
I'm not happy about it. If she's not ready to go, she don't need to go. I mean, come on. I mean, and here's the thing. Yes, we're here to talk about Howard University. But as I said, I'm passionate about all HBCUs. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and we all went to HBCUs. Jackson State, Alcorn, FAMU, Lemoyne-Owen. And so sometimes I'll go to classic games with my siblings. And when you sit in the audience and you're at a game and you hear Dean so-and-so was retiring, or you see these alum, you catch a tear. You feel that in your heart, because that's the same spirit you have about Howard. It's family, it's us, it's Black people. So it's just a spiritual thing, to be quite frank. It's the community, it's our ancestors. So I wasn't happy about it. Now, if she was ready to walk out the door, cool. But if I know Miss Dudley well enough, I mean, she didn't announce it, and I can't see Miss Dudley not working. And I can't see Miss Dudley not wanting to be at Howard.
Miss Dudley, do you remember? I mean, what was that like? Because I know that, because I know we Facebook friends, me and you. I don't know if you know that, but do you? I remember it was like I think you posted something on Facebook, or
I can tell you.
Just to give you background, I'm over the Howard Alumni social. Like I made an Instagram account called Howard Alumni, and it has 35,000 followers. Okay. So, and so I'm very in tune with a lot of stuff that goes on with the school. So as soon as the school finds out, I might find out, but I'm very in tune. And I remember everybody just talking about it, and then people pressuring me like, yo, you have to send this out. You have to do this. You know what I mean? Because people are going to listen to you. So I'm like, okay. So I'm reposting, retweeting, like, and people were energized. Like,
Yeah.
Where were you when you found out, or, did you ever imagine that things could potentially end like that?
Absolutely not. It was August 23rd on a Friday. I was working with an alum who had come back from Canada because she was struggling in her field. And I had to give some truth to that person that day. This is where you can work. This is, just there were some limitations, and I had to be honest because I wouldn't be helping this person if I didn't tell the truth. And I got a call, go upstairs, go up there, walk in, and I see HR and the dean. And I knew what was about to happen. But as I said at that time, I was given, told the office we were no longer to have the Office of Career Development in school. And I just said, whether it's me or someone else, I think there's a major mistake. And that was sort of it. I go down. Oh, no, the thing I said, because honestly, and this may sound crazy, but I said, when I was saying, well, I got to let all my employers know because I had years of relationships with these employers, and I got to let the students and alumni know. And they were like, no, this has to happen right now. I'm like, what? Mm. So I go downstairs and I tell the alum that I was working with that I can't finish helping her, that they're letting me go. And she's expressed at that moment, she said, you really helped me. I know what I can do. I know what direction I should head in this discipline. And I didn't even think twice. I just went to my computer after I gave her my 18 keys. I just typed, Howard University broke my heart today. They're letting me go due to budgetary reasons. And that was it. And I got up. I hadn't gotten to the front door. And Keith Alexander, who works for the Post, was calling me. And he was about to go on vacation. And he just happened to be on Facebook. And he was like, And I couldn't get home without the calls. I never got to process what happened to me because my landline and my cell were ringing off the hook. It was just crazy. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I never even got to be sad about it or cry. I was just in shock, honestly, because it was like, there's so many things that will be left hanging. I had stuff scheduled with big employers, it just was a lot. And then when Fox News was calling, trying to get the story because they'd never seen anything like this on social media before happen. And I'm like, I can't talk to you. I haven't even processed this thing myself, And they're like, well, we're going to call back. We're going to call back. Then my girlfriend calls. She gets through because she'd been trying to get through. And she's like, I heard on Radio 1, # bring back Miss Dudley. What's going on? And it was like, oh my God. And then by then the president was calling me. I knew the number, I knew this is the president's office of Howard. And then that happened. Now.
Did you have a relationship with the president prior to this?
Not really a relationship, not really. So the next morning, I decided I would look at Facebook, because everybody was calling. My nieces were reading about it in Pennsylvania, everybody's freaking out. And I tried to read some of those stories of when those graduates met me and who they were and who they are now. And I couldn't. I broke down, it just broke me down. Because I can remember those little innocent faces, at that time, and how now they're successful, they're VPs and things like that. But, and then I had to kind of say delicately, stop calling the president's office, and then Chris Washington called me and said, Miss Dudley, tell those people to stop calling the president's office, And I said, Chris, I thought I put out the word that he's going to talk to me Monday. We're going to meet. I'll be up in career services, but whatever. Let me just say something. I missed my office for a long time because in career services, it's a different animal. The employer interview suites are up there. So students couldn't hang around my office, and sit down on the floor in my office and study and do whatever they do and talk loud. And I kind of miss that interaction. But then I kept saying, there are kids all over this campus, just like those kids in communication. And then I got used to being in the space I'm in. So that was my story. And I still got to stay in touch with folks because the good thing is employers are still sending me jobs. They're still sending me internships from communications. And I'm still I'm getting to post to a broader audience now, jobs on Facebook, and on Bison Up on Bison. So it's actually really, really fun up there. It's just, you spend 40 something years in one space. It's still, it's like getting a divorce.
Wow, that outpouring was crazy. When you think about your impact, I mean, you said every year basically is a new 4 years of students, sometimes 5 or 6, depending on the student. And you're touching people that essentially are going out, not just into the DC area, but they're going out into the world and having a huge impact, in the world based off of, your teachings and the impact that you left on them. Talk a little bit about, maybe a time where you guys poured into somebody or a situation that you really put your all into and you were, heavily disappointed with the outcome.
Well, being in the nonprofit sector, the name of the game for funding is always tell me about your success stories, right? Which I think is extremely important. But often in these funding situations, sometimes success is defined differently. And I think for me, in thinking about my leadership and how it's different and how what I want my legacy to be, is that I take responsibility and ownership for how I define community and how I define success. Mm-hmm. So I think we have some success stories that clearly fit the bill of, what the general main public is looking for. And of course, I share those. But I've been very mindful to make sure that I do when I see them on Facebook and they pop up and they say, hey, Miss Kelly, and kids that quite frankly, kids you thought couldn't stand you, but to see them show you love. But I like saying that I am proud of all of my girls, because I think we have to own what success looks like. And I think for me, in this mission of love, of mentoring, of sharing, we're seed planting. And so I know that I have planted some seeds, and some of them you get a chance to see them blossom in front of your eyes. Sometimes they come back and blossom later. Sometimes you're like, I'm so mad. Or you feel used. Because that's the other thing that's really we have a whole nother week-long seminar to talk about what it's like to work within our communities and when you run a Black female-led organization and how they really treat you. But the thing is, I find comfort in just knowing the fact that I've planted a seed and that I'm helping and I've nurtured and I've given my best. And I often have to feel like being okay with that.
Ms. Dudley, how did that experience change your view of Howard?
It didn't change it at all, because I knew that the person who did this thing wasn't a Howard grad.
They didn't know better.
Had no clue about, we were one of 4 schools, engineering, business, communications, and law, that had their own career centers. And trust me, every freshman orientation with parents, they were lined up to ask me 1,000 questions. And I'm saying, you give that away. So you don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't change my view of Howard. It changed my view that everybody's not going to like you and everybody's not going to be receptive to what you do at Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that everybody at Howard accepted what I did, but everybody at Howard got it. They understood why I did what I did. And I'm saying it didn't do anything to change my view of Howard, except for the fact that make me love this institution more because of the support of, and I'm telling you, they weren't just School of Sea grads. They were I had about 4 lawyers who wanted to represent me. I was like, what? You know, telling me what year they came out to law school and blah, blah, blah. And I'd seen some of their children, you know, so it didn't do anything but to make me love this place. Thank God every day. Thank God for Dr. Orlando Taylor, Dr. Joan Payne, and Mr. Tom Walker, who was my first advisor. Just because a series of meetings with these people got me my life and gave me my purpose to serve the students and alumni of Howard. So it didn't change my perspective at all, but made it better.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. What do you think makes a mentor?
The first thing, what makes a good mentor, one, is you have to understand the person you are trying to mentor. Because if you can't see them, you can't be transparent with them about who they are and what their potential is and what direction they should be headed in. And I don't mean you tell them what direction to head in. You just have to make sure they're in the right lane, you know, in terms of their potential and what they know. So, truth, giving them truth. If they're too sweaty, tell them. You know, if the hairdo's bad, tell them. If the breasts are out too much, tell them. I mean, I don't have a problem saying it.
Definitely.
Because if I don't say it, somebody's either going to say it to them from a distance or discuss it on the job with their colleagues and then use that as an excuse to get rid of that person.
So, Ms. Dudley, when you started at Howard, and obviously you've seen some of the best and brightest kids come through Howard, and did you ever think it would be a reality to have a Black woman in the White House as number one, as a first lady, and then as a vice president?
At that time, no. I didn't even, you know what? It didn't even come across my mind. Mm-hmm. And that was the reality then. Hell, we couldn't even get Black folks into broadcasting, okay? We were struggling trying to bring parity in that industry. So the White House was just sort of like, whoa, way out in the universe, you know? Wow. But let me say something. But there were a lot of people in the late 60s and early 70s who were politically active, who probably strongly believed that there could be, despite the setbacks and the barriers that they were having to employment, you know, in the desired industries. But it's just, I came from a small town. My parents didn't talk to us about politics or anything, you know. It was, I mean, I love my parents, but they just didn't. You know, I felt like I came to Howard at a disadvantage. But the best thing about Howard is that you learn as you educate, you learn as you work, you learn as you grow. It's a beautiful experience in terms of knowing your history and knowing what hope we could possibly have for our people. So how can we get past imposter syndrome? It's weird because I have a lot of people like Kelly Fair
They come on the show very successful,
Uh-huh.
and they still are saying they suffer from imposter syndrome. Even in 2020, even with having a ton of accomplishments, a ton of degrees, a ton of people reporting to them. Um,
Mm.
how do we? Is that something that you ladies ever suffer with, or still sometimes look at yourself and like, man, how did I get here? You know.
I don't look at how I got here, because listen to me, I wanted to be those people that I saw as leaders, mentors. I wanted to be those people. I knew that shy thing was in my way. And I mean, I tell the story to freshmen all the time. I knew that what was holding me back from being my best self was this fear of whatever, and I still can't explain it to anyone. But I know, I mean, I don't talk to people in the elevator. Okay. I still do that. I have to go to conventions. I go to meetings where I'm the only dark face in the room, and I've got to speak, and I'm suffering before I get up there. But I know I got a purpose, and I know I have to be good, because it's going to kill me if I'm not good.
I just think it's a personal journey. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, and it's just certain milestones that I can look to say, wow, at this point, I wasn't comfortable viewing myself in this way. And then these things occurred, and they helped me get to that point. And it's always stepping stones. But one of the things that kind of hit me was coming up with the concept, because the Every Girl's a CEO book, I mean, we didn't come up with that name from the book. It was literally something we would have to say to girls as we were prepping them for interviews. It's like, look, girl, you could do this. You got this. You do this. You do that. You do this. So you're already a CEO. So there were times that I had to reflect on myself and say, who are you to be working so hard to encourage them and not recognize your own leadership at times, even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if it's non-traditional, even though Kelly Fair don't never do this, that, and the third. That's who I am, and I'm proud of my leadership. And I had to be comfortable at continuously sculpting and defining my own voice and letting it be free sometimes. So I just think that it's something that we're always at different phases facing something. But I think that's sign of a good thing. That's growth. And sometimes growth feels good and you can see it. And then sometimes growth doesn't. So, I think just having a circle of people that you can sometimes reflect, bounce off, or if you got a Miss Dudley in your circle, she always gonna let you know, like she said, you're sweaty, your breasts are out too much, or if you're not being as courageous as you need to. Yeah. I'm grateful that she's in my circle, pushing me to be my best self because she believes in me.
I want to find out what Howard was like in the 70s, Miss Dudley.
Let me
Was
tell you.
Homecoming always popping? I know you got some stories about Crandall Hall.
Sorry, Homecoming was not what it is today. And when I say the numbers on campus, but Homecoming was always a good thing. But I have to say this. Homecoming has never been better than it is every year now that I'm this age. It is, I mean, we live for Homecoming. And I'm telling you, it gets better. I've talked to some other folks who came through Howard, and they're like grown now, grown. And they're like, Homecoming is everything now. It's like it gets better. The older you get, it gets better. And we couldn't do a whole bunch of stuff when we were in school because, we couldn't drink. We couldn't go anywhere. So it wasn't the same as it is now. It's different. It's so much better.
What made you decide to come to Howard? Was Howard regarded?
I won some, it was called a National Negro Merit Scholarship in high school. And you could put down the 5 HBCUs that you might want to go to. And one day I got a letter because I wanted to go to Emerson College in communications. And I got a letter from Howard that told me about freshman week. We're going on a boat ride. the radio station was going to be playing the music, WHUR. And I was like, oh my God, I want to go to Howard. And so there was like, my mom came home and I said, I'm going to go to Howard. And she says, well, we got to wait till your father comes home. And then my dad comes home. He goes, well, you know, there are gangs in Washington. I'm like, oh God. You know, he was talking about the riots of the 60s, but I didn't care. I was going come hell or high water. If I had to walk to school like Isaac Davis, I was going to walk to Washington. Okay. I just wanted to go. And I was so, oh my God, every time I think about how much Howard has done for my life, I just couldn't imagine it had been something else. You know, it was everything.
How much has it changed over the years since, you know, the 70s until now?
Oh, it's changed a lot. When I say it, maybe it's just the appearance that students were hungrier back in the day, but they did have less opportunities. The industries had not committed to seeking out minorities for positions. You know, of course, they did in business, they did in engineering, but not so much in communications, and definitely not with arts and sciences. And I'm saying there were a lot of struggles. And now the difference I see, though, is this. There's so many opportunities. I think students take advantage of the fact that, well, another one will come along. But the thing I'm doing right now with these students is I'm pushing all these opportunities in this remote, you know, their remote work, remote internships, paid, and jobs. And I'm pushing. And I see them responding. So I know that they're getting them, and they're, you know, they're not bothered by the number of times I'm sending stuff to them. I'm just pushing and pushing. So the difference is there were so far less opportunities back in the day. And now there's everything offered to these young people. And I just wish they were grabbing them as soon as they come. I mean, I just don't see the same level of hunger. And I know that's because there's so much coming at them. Mm-hmm. And particularly in response to the Black Lives Matter movement and the virtual environment, we're getting, like, everybody's coming at me. I mean, I was literally in 10 employer meetings a day during September. I had the biggest virtual fair we've ever. In fact, the fair was bigger than our usual all majors fair. I had 340 employers, and I had to cut it off to 340. And it was just me and Justice, who came out of school a year ago, trying to handle all these employers every day. Info sessions, which Justice was handling, coffee chats, info sessions. There were like 35 a day. We knew students were not going into all those sessions, you know what I mean? But we couldn't stop them because folks were either, you know, even if they didn't have a sustained purpose in terms of posting at Howard, they still were posting.
How has Kamala Harris, her new position and her, you know, her increased fame, how has that increased enrollment or interest in Howard?
Well, remember, this happened while the semester had started already, but I can assure you it will have an impact on enrollment, particularly when we're on site in the fall 2021. I just hope we have a dorm space.
What about you, Kelly? Is, you know, being that you target young ladies, you know, have you seen increased energy around your mission because of things that are going on with, you know, Kamala Harris and everything else in society?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely where I think it's really in alignment with Ms. Dudley's comments, where we're very much having these conversations about, wow, the possibilities, see what you can do, see what you can be. I think that it's our responsibility that, in addition to saying, bravo to Kamala and see what you can do and see what you can be, we need to be very honest to say, but to get here, you need this. And so we need to be equipping them and be unafraid to also give them exactly to understand. Example I gave, in a talk last night was, we are celebrating, we are putting memes up, we got t-shirts. That is wonderful. But the celebration continues when we show up and do the work. That's how we have Kamala's back, is that there's work to get there. And like I, shared with some girls, clear as day, they had the big celebration on Saturday, fireworks, beautiful white suit. They had to get to work like the next day because there's serious things going down, a pandemic, employment, economic, social, unrest. So it's teaching this whole new way of wearing this sweatshirt means I celebrate, I got memes, I party, but part of the celebration is being comfortable understanding that culture of work and that hard work ethic that it takes to get there, and that it takes to get to the next step, because there's a whole lot of progress that still needs to be made. And so my question to the young ladies is, are you ready? Will you be ready? Because Kamala said, I'm the first, but I won't be the last. And so I think in this excitement and letting them know there's a lot available to you, there are lots of possibilities, you need to make sure that you're going to be ready. And it's our responsibility to be honest with them and equip them with the skills and the toolbox to be able to do it and be that support network. So when they fall, we pick them up so that when Kamala does come back and reach down, that all these young ladies are ready.
So what made you choose Howard, Kelly?
I am a kid who was totally influenced by a different world. Growing up in Chicago, and because my family had migrated to Chicago so early, that connection to the South just wasn't there in the same way because my entire family came. So for my parents growing up in the Midwest in the 60s, they did not talk to Black students about HBCUs as an option. So my parents were largely unaware. So to be honest, A Different World was that TV show that introduced me to this whole world of what Black college life looked like. And that was at the same time where you started seeing the Black college tours. And so I was like, I want on one of those tours. And for me, Howard just made sense. It was a great school, but I also, because that's funny, Miss Dudley says I checked off my boxes. I was the oldest of 5. So I needed to be somewhere because I knew I wasn't getting a car. So I needed to be in a city that had public transportation, and womp womp, Hampton, Virginia closed down at 11 p.m. So I was like, I can't do that. I may not be the biggest party girl, but I am a city girl. So I wanted city life. But I just knew at Howard, you would see what success looked like in so many different ideations, and it looked so different. And that was attractive to me.
So what advice do you all have for Ms. Dudley, what advice do you have for the 18-year-old Carol that's coming into Howard right now, and she wants to be great? What advice do you have for that young lady?
The first thing is go to every bit of orientation that Howard provides to you, because that's where you're going to find out where the career center is, where you should apply for opportunities, who's in financial aid, who's in admissions, who's in the library. It's where you'll get all your knowledge about the institution itself. And that's where you'll start. So where do I go first? Do I go to counseling? Do I go to career services? Do I go to academic advising? But that's where every 17-year-old should start there. But they should also start having discussions with, if it's possible, their high school teachers or resource people in their high schools, if their parents are able to talk to them about what they want to do in life. I think that should happen too. All this should happen. I'm not saying we're putting a lot on them, but you're getting ready to begin your life. And so it's all a necessary evil that I got to make a plan for my life. I got to set a mature agenda for myself. And that means knowing the who, what, where, when, and why when you get to Howard or any college.
What about you, Kelly? What advice do you have for the 18-year-old Kelly that's coming to Howard right now?
Go down to the school that you're majoring in. I met Miss Dudley. I mean, seriously. I mean, I hear from students so often, and I said, "Well, what are you majoring in? Did you go over to the school?" They told me I ain't had to go over there because I'm just a freshman and I don't take any of my major classes yet. No, go do exactly what Miss Dudley said. You go to the school and you start introducing yourself and getting to know who are the deans, who are the people in the school, who are the Miss Dudleys of the world. So it's never too early to start building your network and building your village. You go to where you're majoring, and even if you think you might change, so what? So what? Go meet them and connect.
So,
and Josh, can I just add one thing about that? I just have to say this. When freshmen come to me after they've been through, Bison Week or orientation, and they just want to introduce themselves, I literally, if they're in a field that they can do something for me, I will literally give them their first work experience. I can't pay them. They have to be on work study to get paid. But I'm going to give you your first experience and let you make your mistakes with me.
Yeah.
So that's why what Kelly's saying is so important. Go to your school. Go to see these people that are talking to you as you approach your entry to Howard. Because you never know who's going to help you or who's going to, help you get your life. So believe me, I'll hire them.
She told me to come down to my office Monday. And I was like, okay.
So what are some things that, so what are you guys doing now? I mean, with COVID kind of changing the way we do business and go about our social life, what are some things that you all are doing now? And, if somebody wanted to, get in touch with you, how would they do that?
You mean, are you talking to me from like the work I do?
Yeah, from the work that you do.
Well, that hasn't stopped, Joshua. I'm overwhelmed with employers, but I'm selling Howard, okay? And I'm having a good time doing that. So, you want to know about Howard, about programs in business, engineering, nursing. I'm selling it, okay? And I'm serious. I think these employers are happy with my conversations with them, but I'm telling them every single way that they can engage with students at Howard. And the students, there's no shortage of students reaching out because people like the sports management professor is sending all his students to me to review their resumes, or Jennifer Thomas in communications sending all of her students to me to review their resumes. There's no shortage. And I'm also Dean Patterson in the College of Arts and Sciences is now requiring that all arts and sciences students leave Howard with at least an internship under their belt, which is different for them. And so I'm posting. So they know who I am because I'm posting internships to them, and everybody's giving out internships. So there's no shortage.
Have you ever been recruited away from Howard, Ms. Dudley?
Oh yeah. I've had a lot of companies want me to come work for them. And they were always in New York, which is where I wanted to be, but I was too scared of New York. I love New York, but I'm just afraid of it. I don't think I'm New York.
Yeah, me neither. There's too much going on. Even the smell, I'm good.
Yeah, right.
But I do like the energy of New York. When you go there, you get off the plane, you walk around Manhattan. The energy is great, but long term, I can't do it. What's the latest and greatest with Polished Pebbles?
So when we think about Polished Pebbles in the pandemic, we've been using the hashtag Pebbles Pivot. We definitely had to go from being 100% in-person business to being 100% virtual business. So as our school partners went remote, we did too. Spring was a hectic time as everybody was just trying to figure it out. But we've maintained all of our school placements. We serve about 500 girls a year. So we've been able to maintain our school placements and work with them on engaging our students to stay in school. to not just stay for attendance and then turn the computer screen off. Now we've entered a whole new world. I was on a call today talking about career development and new things that we need to be considering about. And I mentioned that we need to talk about what virtual etiquette looks like. That becomes now a thing, that I need you to take your bonnet off. I need you to get out of your bed if you can. I need you to, make sure your screen is on all the time. I need your screen name not to be Kanisha the goat. You know what I mean? But I mean, those are the conversations that we have to have with our kids now, because the other thing that we have to be comfortable sharing with them is some jobs may never come back to being in person. This may be the new normal. So we've been working in that way. We've had kids that we've hired over the summer. So Polished Pebbles is still live and running with summer work study programs that have been all virtual. And then we've shifted a lot of our in-person work that has been through the community. And our Mommy and Me program has been very vibrant. So moms are finding support through our moms town halls to deal with how do you work with your kids in remote learning, raising your girls in a pandemic. Hey, I didn't braid her hair before the pandemic. Now I got to figure out what to do with her hair. So it's just some of those small things. And then finding ways that moms and daughters can do things together. They've been learning how to publish podcasts, building businesses. We raised $7,000 for moms and daughters that have startups for some of their businesses that they've put together. Lemonade stands, film businesses, hair bows, lip gloss. So we've been moving and still pivoting. And then the beautiful thing is it's open our audience up more. Girls, our thing is girls should be able to continue to dream even in the midst of COVID-19. So we want to make sure that they still know there's opportunities for academic pursuits, for career pursuits. So we did a career conference. We were only gauging about 30 kids. We didn't close the registration pack and we had over 75. And from Chicago across the country and even India. It's so global. I'm going global.
Wow.
So it's been exciting. It's trying, it's stressful, but it's been good for us and been exciting at the same time. So just trying to stay, making sure that Pebbles continue to pivot and stay innovative and stay in tune with what people are looking for. So we're excited about that. Plus, again, we got the book, Every Girl's a CEO, which is a great guide for girls to continue to work on prepping themselves for dreaming, creating goals. It's a career and success guide that they can use at home. Moms and parents can use it at home. And where can they get it? Where can they find me? They can find me on Instagram at KFair the Mentor. They can find the book on www.kellykfair.com and polishedpebbles.com. So we're excited with equipping families and girls with toolkits to stay busy and stay successful even in the midst of the pandemic while they're sheltering at home.
Wow. What age group is that book for?
This book is perfect for 10 through 17-year-olds. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm proud of it. It's just something really kind of worked hard. So it's a great workbook. Gives a really good cross section of careers that they can think about how much money that they're going to make. We have to be realistic about what engages our kids and what's realistic. These summer job internships that we give them and we pay them this money, that's revenue and income for their families. So the work that we do is not just about the life and death of the future. The work that we do with preparing them for careers is really critical for the success and for their families to stay above water right now.
Wow. And you're full-time, right?
I am.
How long have you been full-time in the business?
I've been full-time for 10 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
We've got about 15 people on staff, a mix of full-time, part-timers as well, and a host of contractors and consultants as well. So we can use all the support that we can get. Go to www.polishedpebbles.com. We love partnering with companies to provide girls with those very first job experiences. And we've been doing it virtually. So we are open, we are creative, and we can work and partner with different places to make it happen.
Now, I want to conclude real quick with some Howard Jeopardy.
Oh boy.
Let's see what you guys know real quick. I think this will be fun since we got Ms. Dudley on here. So we'll start with an easy question. What year was Howard founded?
1867.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay, Kelly, what is the Howard motto?
God. Well,
Leadership and truth
man.
and service.
Leadership for a global. What didn't it used to be leadership for
Yes.
a community? Yeah.
For America and the
and
global.
service.
Truth and service. Leadership and truth and service.
All right.
Ms. Dudley, can you name all the halls in the quad?
All of the halls in the quad, Truth, Crandall, Wheatley, Truth, Crandall, Wheatley, and Baldwin.
I would fail that. I was a girl. They ran out to put me in.
Is Fraser in there?
And Fraser.
Kelly, how do you spell Crampton?
Cramton.
Oh, very good. A lot of people say P.
Good question.
Kelly, who's the president of Howard?
Frederick. Oh God, what is his last name? I know he wears some flashy suits at homecoming. I just know it's Frederick.
Dr. Wayne Frederick, right?
Yes, Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick.
Ms. Dudley, how many schools and colleges does Howard have?
Well, let me just tell you this. Howard used to have 19 schools and colleges. We're now down to 13 schools and colleges, and that's because we've integrated several of the programs: engineering, architecture, and computer science, nursing and allied health, and fine arts and arts and sciences. So yes, we have 13 schools and colleges.
Kelly, what's the Black National Anthem?
Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing.
Okay. Ms. Dudley, finish this sentence. Reared against the eastern sky.
Proudly there on hilltop high. Is that the line?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, this charter day, you'd really learn the anthem there.
No, yeah, she's had too many years.
Kelly, what body of water is closest to Howard?
That reservoir.
Good one.
Howard.
Good one. Ms. Dudley, who was Howard named after?
General Otis Howard.
Okay. Kelly, what is the zip code of Howard?
Ooh, I should know. I still know Miss Dudley's phone number from her office, though. It's something. It's 220-202-205 or something like that. But I can tell you. I'll tell you how to call. What is the one? Dudley was 202-806-5806. The main number for Howard is 202-806-6100 because you had to call for financial aid and everything. That I know.
I believe it's 20059.
Close.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Okay, this for both of you all. Is it who you know or what you know?
It's what you know.
Yeah, it really is.
Seriously. I say that to everybody that asks me, do you know anybody at so-and-so? I'm like, listen, stop trying to get a job that way and start yelling, so.
But we're two Virgos. So it would be too much work if it was always about who you know. It's like that makes too much work.
Wow. What, this for both of you all too. When did you find your voice?
I found my voice in 1976.
I found my voice at Howard, bar none. And Miss Dudley and a lot of my mentors, Miss Dudley in particular, helped me find that voice. To be honest, I had not really considered myself a leader until I got to Howard. And I'll give a perfect example. I had gotten that internship with HBO, and they had needed somebody to give an intern to give a speech at a big dinner that they had, the T. Howard Foundation. and it was the satellite industry. Yep, I'm a T. Howard alum. And I had written whatever little speech I had written, and I sent it to the lady that was in charge, and she almost like threw that back at me. And Miss Dudley helped me write my speech. And I just remember how well it was received. And it was that first time that I had felt that it was a sense of power. And it wasn't, it's not an arrogance thing, but it was, this is something I produced. It was a reflection of who I really was, even if I couldn't see myself in that way. And people responded to me in that way. And I remember taking that train ride back home from New York from that event. And it's probably one of the best train rides and travels I've ever had in my life, because I didn't know what it was, but it was something where I had finally just kind of like come into being. And it was one of those moments where you can see that's what mentorship does for you. She helped me shine when I didn't even know I had that kind of shine in me. So that's when I found my voice.
Hardest part of being a Black woman?
Which one?
Hardest part of being a Black woman is getting acceptance among the masses of other Black women.
I think that's an important point, because I when I'm in circles of colleagues or friends, and they're always talking about the challenges they have being the only one, being the only minority. And I work predominantly around people of color and Black people all the time. And the things that we do to each other are just, I think, sometimes even more challenging than dealing with when you're the only one, or just comparable. So I think there's a lot of room for healing within our community and within Black women. There's a lot of room and space for that transparency and vulnerability.
Best Howard moment?
I have so many, but let me lump a couple of them. Best Howard moment is Charter Day dinner, graduation, and homecoming.
Yeah. I would agree. Homecoming is just something that is out of this world. You're not even ready for as a freshman. But I'm gonna tell you this. No, let me go back to orientation in Blackburn Auditorium. We had finished, whoever was making the presentations, presidents, provost, dean, it was very, formal. And then it was kind of like done. And then out of nowhere, because when I started at Howard that semester, All About the Benjamins was popular. And just it seemed like a DJ just came out of nowhere and started scratching and playing a song, and the kids just started dancing. And I said, this is school? I'm just like, what is this place? And I just think that kind of highlights and speaks to what my Howard experience was like. It was this fine balance of the formal, the structure, but then this space to just be authentically you and celebrate all of us and all of who we are. So that's probably, it's so many, but I remember that moment.
Wow. Okay, you got to start one, you got to bench one, and you got to cut one. Freshman orientation, homecoming, graduation.
Start one, bench one.
Okay.
I'll bench orientation. It wasn't that impactful for me.
Yeah.
You got to cut one though.
Oh, okay. I'm cutting orientation. Bench one. Oh, that's so bad. Bench graduation. I'm starting homecoming.
Or freshman orientation, that was my number one. I was away from my parents for the first time. I was meeting so many people. That was the best for me. In my graduation, it rained. In 2003, it rained the whole time. So it was a drag.
Oh, yeah, that was this.
But what about you, Ms. Dudley?
I'm going to start graduation, bench, homecoming, and cut orientation, because I know we'll get to them another way. There's nothing like graduation day.
Well, Miss Dudley and Miss Fair, you guys have been great guests. I truly appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I appreciate this. And Kelly, thank you for asking me, inviting me. I so appreciate this.
Of course. And thank you for this platform, Josh, too. It's a great opportunity for alums to stay connected and continue to know about each other.
So how do we donate to Polished Pebbles?
You can go to www.polishedpebbles.com and make a donation, learn about who we are. And if you're in the midst of COVID-19 and you're looking for programming for your girls, you can go to Polished Pebbles and find some virtual options there for both moms and for daughters. And you can find the book, Every Girl's a CEO, there too.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, again for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.